All right, talking about histograms. So a histogram is a special kind of bar graph. There's a couple things that make it different from a bar graph. The first thing is that they have ranges. On a bar graph, it's just going to be one thing for each of my bars. But here I have more than one thing. Here we're taking a look at test grades and then the number of students that scored in each of those ranges. So from a 0 to 59%, we had 2 students score in that range. 60 to 69, we had 3 students score in that range. A 70 to a 79%, we had 6 students. 80 to 89, 3 students again. And then between 90 students and 100, we had 4 students. One of the limitations, one of the things that we don't like about histograms is that we don't know exactly how many students scored each score. So these 2 students between 0 and 59, maybe one of them scored a 10% and one of them scored a 30%. We don't know how much they actually scored. Maybe they both scored a 59. Maybe they both scored a 0. We don't know. Something else about our bar graphs is that the bars always touch. A bar graph, there's going to be some space between the two, but because it's a range and they're continuous, so I go from 59 to 60. So my bars are going to touch because they are right next to each other. 69 to 70, my bars are going to touch because they're right next to each other. All the way through, my bars are going to touch each other. Now let's get into actually reading some questions based on this histogram. How many students took the test? We just go through and we add it all up. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 6 is 11, plus 3 is 14, plus 4 is 18. Again, we just added them up. How many students scored between a 0 and a 59? That range is right there. A 0 to a 59, we had 2 students. 3 is one that was tricking some students up. It said how many students passed with a 70 or higher. So here's my section for 70 or higher means I want all of these students. I want all of those grades. So 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 4 is 13. So 13 students passed. They scored a 70 or higher. And then this last one is probably the trickiest one. It says what percentage of the students scored an 80 or higher. So again, I'm only looking at a small little portion. I'm not looking at the whole thing, just my 80 or higher group. So that's 7 students. To make this into a percentage, I have to start with the fraction. So 7 out of the 18 students scored an 80% or higher. Then I need to take that fraction and divide it. I don't know where my phone is. Oh, here it is. I need to do my 7 divided by 18, and I get 3.8 repeating per as a decimal. And then to turn my decimal into a percent, we move the decimal 2 times to the right because my percent sign is going to go in there. So this becomes 38.8 repeating percent. And if you want to round that to 39, that's fine too. Pause the video, ask us any questions if you have them. Otherwise, let's go on to building a histogram. This histogram wants us to make it based off of what students recorded the amount of minutes they spent on homework last night, and those are their results. So we need to make some ranges based on these numbers. We always want to start by looking what is the smallest number and the biggest number I have. That will help me figure out how to break up my ranges. So here we see the smallest number is 0 and the biggest number is 60. We need to break these sections up to help us find our ranges. So It doesn't really matter how you break them up. Personally, I've been liking to break them up in 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, and 51 to 60. Other groups that I was teaching and working on this with, they were breaking them up from like 0 to 9, and then 10 to 19, and 20 to 29. And that works too. There's no right or wrong way. The biggest thing is you need to have ranges. Then we need to figure out how many students fell in each of these ranges. So from 0 to 10, I count here as 1 student, 2 students, 3 students that studied between 0 and 10 minutes. 11 to 20, we see 1, 2, 3 again. It's really important that you cross out the numbers to help you make sure that you're not doing a number 2 times or skipping a number at the end. 21 to 30, there's 1, 2, 3 again. Pause the video and try to finish the next 3 on your own. Hopefully you got 2, 1, and 1 for those remaining pieces. On the SOL, you'll never have to make the top and the bottom of the bar graph on your own, but you will have to be able to shade in the bars. So that's what we're going to practice now. So let me move myself up top so that you can see better. The bottom, just like up here, is going to have our ranges. So our ranges were 0 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, and 51 to 60. And those were the number of minutes. On this side is going to be the frequency, or the number of students. To break up this side, what's the biggest number of students that we have? 3. We don't have more than 3 in a group, so we can break this up where this would be 1, 2, 3. And I did 1 extra to have 4 students. Now we want to go through and we want to make bars that correspond with, they match the number of students that we have for each range. So from 0 to 10, we have 3 students in that bar. You don't have to shade it in. It's okay if you do or you don't. Then for 11 to 20, I have 3 again. Please, please, please make sure your bars touch. That is part of what makes a bar graph special. The bars touch. And we just keep on going, working through all the different ranges. 31 to 40, that's when we see 2 students, so my bar size is going to change. And then again for my 41 and 50, now we only have 1 student, my bar size changes. And then the last one. Let's say there was a 0 in this 41 to 50. I would still write that range on here. It's just I wouldn't have a bar. There would just be a hole there. There would just be a gap. If you have questions on any of this, please, please, please let us know. And good luck with your histograms.